Hello? Oh, it's this one that's on.
We'll get started here. Welcome to Speak Up Newport. Beautiful midsummer afternoon here. Appreciate you folks all coming with the rain and all. We are really, well, first of all, let's give a shout out to the bungalow. They provide our food out there. Jim Walker and the bungalow. Please support the bungalow. They help support Speak Up Newport, so we really appreciate that. So we're really privileged this afternoon to have our County Supervisor Katrina Foley with us. She's very busy. It seems like Katrina's everywhere. I don't know where she gets the energy to do it, but she's really doing a great job. She's all over the county. A little bit about Katrina. She was elected to the Board of Supervisors in a special election in March 2021 and re-elected for a full term in November 2022. She represents coastal and South County cities, including Newport Beach. She also was the City of Costa Mesa's first directly elected mayor in 2013 and re-elected in 2020. She served on the Costa Mesa City Council for 14 years, serving as mayor from 2016 to 17. She previously served on the Newport Mesa Unified School District Board of Trustees from November 2010 to November 2014. She's also on the Orange County Transportation Authority Board. She's president of the Foley Group based out of Newport Beach. They provide contract negotiation and nonprofit compliance services. In 2001 and 2004, Katrina was honored by Women in Leadership in the National Association of Women Business Owners at their annual Remarkable Women Awards event. And she serves on a lot of local and regional boards. Some of them include Travel Newport Costa Mesa, Transportation Corridor Agency boards, liaison to the Newport Mesa Arts Commission, Cultural Arts Committee, Bike and Walkability Committee, Pension and Finance Advisory and Special Districts Committee, as well as the Orange County Fair. Katrina has two sons who attended Costa Mesa Public Schools. She lives in Costa Mesa with Casey, her husband of 28 years, and he's a local educator. So with that, please welcome Katrina Foley.
Thank you. Okay, so Nick, wherever that bio is housed on the internet, we need to update it. It's at least a couple years old because I've now been married 32 years. That's how I know that bio's out of date. But anyway, thank you, Ed, for that kind introduction. I'm Katrina Foley, County Supervisor, and it's my privilege to represent the fabulous 5th District, which now includes Newport Beach and Costa Mesa, Irvine, Laguna Beach, all the way to, oh yeah, I have to do this. Okay, I'm used to somebody else doing this stuff. Okay, all the way to San Clemente. And we have all the area, that's the unincorporated area. You can see this map. It's a giant district. 660,000 residents or thereabouts, and about 420,000 are registered voters. So what does that say to you? Everybody over 18 is registered to vote. And that's important because this district is, it's the most affluent district. It's the most diverse district. It has the most, in terms of educated residents. We are home to 2 harbors, the airport, of course, the UCI, the Coast Community College System, Soka University. So it has so much. And let's not forget our 32 miles of coastline. Lots of acreage of open space, and it's just a really incredible district to be able to represent. But it comes with a lot of challenges. So we have infrastructure challenges. We have wildfires, coastal erosion, railroad tracks getting closed down, landslides, recently toxic algae attacking baby seals and sea lions, and of course nuclear energy waste storage. I just never expected in my lifetime to be working on most of these issues. So I'm really enjoying the work. I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I love to problem solve. And so I think I'm the perfect person for this work at this time. These are the committees that I sit on. A lot of appointments to committees that are specific to the 5th District. I am on the Orange County Fire Authority. I'm the chair now for the Ledge Committee. I also just became the chair of our Orange County Housing Finance Trust, and working on Orange County Transportation Authority, a whole lot of different committees that the county, the county chairman assigns me to because they are part of the district that I represent. Additionally, we have some internal advisory groups that I've created because I really think it's important that I build capacity more than just about the staffing at the county building, but with community input. So we have our John Wayne Airport Advisory Team. Raise your hand if you're on our team. Yes. And then I want to call out Sue Dvorak, who is our new chair of the Airport Commission. And we work really hard on issues related to the airport, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we also have a homelessness and housing advisory team. We have a veterans advisory team. We just began we had our first meeting for our Dana Point Harbor Oversight and Advisory Team, and that is a committee that is really going to be helpful to me to be able to vet issues related to Dana Point Harbor. And you may not think it is relevant to you, but it really is because it's a county asset and we want it to be really something that's accessible to the public and that we can all be proud of. We also are forming our first climate action task force, and the county is embarking on creating a climate action plan because we want to make sure that we're resilient. I mean, look at what's happening in Hawaii right now, and so we don't ever want to have anything like that happen here. We also, I sit on the songs committees that relate to the San Onofre plant, and we're working really closely with a lot of people who are much smarter than I about nuclear energy and making sure that we can, as quickly as possible, move that off of our coast. It's a fault line. We also have sea level rise, and it is near Camp Pendleton, which makes it a very terrible place to have a nuclear energy storage. So we're trying to work on ways to move that away. Priorities for our district. These are our priorities that we've established for this year. After the election, my staff and I had a retreat. We sat down and we kind of brainstormed about all the information that we gathered by talking to the people in the community, both door to door, on the phone, at town halls. And we decided that for this year, because for any of you who know me, you know that every day I could find some new issue to work on because there's so much to do at the county and I want to try to do everything. And so we're trying to narrow my focus so that I can have a deep impact as opposed to a shallow impact. So of course, public safety is our top priority. I mean, that affects everybody. Safe neighborhoods, addressing these burglaries that we're starting to see both in homes as well as in shopping centers, addressing the fentanyl crisis, and of course, fire resiliency, making sure that we have given our firefighters, our paramedics, the tools and equipment that they need, making sure that we're a fire-wise community across the district. So a second priority is reducing homelessness. Now, you might think that homelessness is really isolated to certain areas in Orange County, but I'm here to tell you we are dealing with issues related to homelessness across every city in Orange County. And so in District 5, we've got some unique challenges because Costa Mesa, Newport, when I was mayor, we got you all to partner, and we have a homeless shelter right in Costa Mesa near the airport. It's a great model of how you can create a shelter that is essentially invisible to the neighbors in the area, but is providing great services to people in need. And it's also allowing the city to be able to enforce anti-camping, anti-loitering, all the things that are maybe the ancillary impacts of people experiencing homelessness. So we have that model. But in South County, they don't have a shelter. They've got a shelter in Laguna. It's a small little shelter, but it does not support the greater area. So we're working with them to try to encourage them to follow the Costa Mesa Newport model and have a shelter in South County. Why? Because we're starting to see encampments in San Clemente. We're starting to see encampments throughout the areas that are open space areas. So we want to encourage more people to do more. Newport has come a long way in working on these issues, and I think that in partnership with the city of Costa Mesa and the county, we're on our way to really helping people and to reducing the impacts in the greater community. But housing is just... Housing, we're at a crisis as it relates to housing, and it's the full continuum. Just today, so my husband's been a teacher here in Orange County for about 27 years, and just today, you know, he said to me, I've never had so many kids in my class have issues that are affecting their lives that are really specifically rooted in housing and the inability to find housing. You know, he has one family where the mom and the son are sharing a room in a house and they're renting a room. He has another student who her mom they rented a shed in the backyard of someone's house. And so it is a crisis. And even if you look at like our kids, you know, 20-year-olds, it's hard for them to live here. How many of you have people who, you know, you're young adults who've moved back home? I have. It's tough. It's tough to live here now, and I worry about the future if we don't figure out a solution, because none of us are getting any younger, and we need to be able to have a workforce in the future that can take care of us, right? So that's something that we work on, putting housing in the right spot, making sure that we protect our single-family neighborhoods, but that we build housing near job centers, that we build the kind of housing that the industries that we're trying to recruit to come here to Orange County can actually afford to live in. You know, we have all this medical tech industry that's really wanting to be right here in Orange County, and housing, when I talk to CEOs across Orange County, that's the number one thing that they complain about, is that the lack of housing. Or the affordability of housing. So I'm going to just say one more thing about that. So right now in Orange County, I'm going to blow your mind with these numbers. If you want to qualify for Section 8 housing, that's housing that's subsidized by the government. Most of us would think of that as housing for people that we don't know, that aren't working, that maybe are really in the depths of poverty. But in Orange County, to qualify as a single individual, you can make up to $80,000 a year, because these numbers are based on the income and the median income for the area. So what that means is if you are a first-year DA for the County of Orange, you start at $77,000 a year. So our deputy DAs are eligible for Section 8 housing. That is just wrong. Okay, so that just sort of, I think, gives you an idea about the problem and how do we right-size that. That's something that, you know, I stay up at night thinking about. So climate resiliency, we talked about that. We are engaging with the EPA. We received an opportunity for $1 million grant for our climate pollution reduction grant. And so we're working on how do we create a plan for Orange County, not just for the county government, but also a way for the cities who want to sign on to this plan to participate and receive funding for implementation of their plans. Things like, how do you change out the fleet of your vehicles to a zero emission fleet? How do you change the flood channel infrastructure so that we can collect sediment, so that we can transfer that sediment to our beaches where we're losing sand and there's coastal erosion? There's so many ways that we're behind the times in Orange County with regard to our infrastructure and our planning for resiliency for the future, and we're working on that now, so I'm hoping we can catch up quickly. And then, of course, supporting small businesses. 96% of the businesses in Orange County that are small businesses are family owned. They're owned by many of you. They're right here. They're people who we want to make sure are supported. And I know my office works very hard with our environmental health office. And I don't know if you know, but we do have a refund for all of the environmental health permits that you had to get during 2020 and 2021. So if you haven't got your refund yet, please reach out to our office, because for restaurants, we're trying to give them back their money when they weren't able to be open in the same capacity as previous. So those are issues we work on. Taking care of our taxpayer dollars should be something that every elected official does. But I happen to sort of be scrutinizing a lot of our county contracts, working with our departments to make sure we have performance metrics, that they're delivering results for us. Many of the contractors that work for the county are working in the area of social work, working on homeless prevention, working on making sure that people have services within the social safety net arena. We have $1.8 billion in contracts that we issue every year that relate to those issues. And so homelessness, housing, making sure that people have treatment services, etc. So I've been working over the last 2 years to change the metrics that we include in our county contracts to make sure that we are keeping high standards of expectations for our vendors to make sure that they deliver results for us, because we're giving a lot of money out and we need to make sure it's working. And so that's something I'm really proud of, the work we've actually, it's not something you can point to, but it's something that is actually going to be saving you money and giving us better results. Okay, priorities for Newport Beach. Wow, we've been doing a lot for Newport. Of course, our Fly Friendly program is what we worked on for the first year. And I think Nick Annis is my chief of staff. He's in the back. If you're interested, we have a Fly Friendly brochure that we have available for you. And basically, our Fly Friendly program is designed to help the general aviation, not the commercial planes, but the general aviation planes who are not subject to the settlement agreement, help them to be better neighbors for all of you and help them on a voluntary basis, because there's a lot of rules that the FAA assigns to the airport and to what we are allowed to do and what we are allowed to mandate and what we are not allowed to mandate. So we're hoping that this program, which is a first of its kind in America, will be something that will be a model and that will see some success with regard to those, the jets, the small planes. So that's something we've been working on. We've also been working on, of course, we worked the first year on the oil spill. We helped to make sure that got cleaned up quickly and that the harbor got open. It was pretty scary at the time and impactful to local businesses, impactful to the fisheries, impactful to the boating community, and of course, impactful to our environment. But it's, I think that we learned a lot from that experience, and there's a lot of protections that are now in place. We also have been working on the coastal erosion and the landslides. We had the landslide at Back Bay. We are trying to help those residents to get reimbursement to the extent possible to help them with the offset of what was significant damage, especially for at least one homeowner where they just lost their entire home. And then, of course, investing in the community Each of our offices at the county, we have 5 supervisors, and we're allocated a budget. We're allocated a certain amount that we can use for discretionary projects, a certain amount that we can use for community events, and to support and sponsor events in the community. So last year, because of the American Rescue Plan, we had about $13 million that our budgets were allocated, and I used my funds to invest deeply into the community. This year, we're only about $3 million, and so we are still working on those investments. I like to invest in things that are kind of sustainable, long-term infrastructure. We're investing in the American Legion 291 to improve their ADA accessibility. We have invested in Hoag Hospital for maternal health. We invested $100,000 in the Newport Beach Chamber to support workforce development. We've invested in all kinds of food insecurity grants, even right here in Newport, because you have a lot of seniors that live in Newport. And believe it or not, we gave out $70,000 in food carts for seniors that live in senior housing in Newport Beach. So we're trying to do what we can to have a full continuum of supports for every demographic of the district, no matter what your income level. So we also have all these projects coming forward. We've got the John Wayne Airport improvements. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but needless to say, there was $700 million in deferred maintenance at John Wayne Airport. What kind of projects do you say? Well, things like the escalator is the same as it was when it was originally built. And it breaks down a lot, and we spend a lot of money repairing it instead of just replacing it. So we're doing that. The baggage claim system really is not a very effective system. There's all kinds of different construction that we're going to do at the airport to green it up so that it's less expensive and it's better for the environment. So we have a lot going on at the airport. We also have coming forward here soon the Newport Beach Dunes and Marina Resort proposal. You'll see that probably sometime in the after the first of the year. At the Back Bay, how many of you were able to attend the recent community meeting about the Back Bay Delhi Channel? Anybody? Okay. Well, there's a plan where we're going to fix the channel so that it's prepared for a 100-year flood, and so that project's underway. And unfortunately, that project is causing a little bit of a problem with an equestrian arena that's out there. So we're trying to find a home for the horses. I mean, the horses have homes, but this arena is sort of there's no fence or anything. It's just a place where people have used it as an arena. So we're trying to find an alternative place. I don't know where that might be, but if you have any ideas, let us know. Coyote Canyon Golf Course development is coming forward. That's a project that's been entitled, and they're going to begin construction here in the next year. And then the marina at Newport there's some new docks that are going to be built. 7 of those will be public docks, new public docks. We voted on that in December. And then the Newport Sea Base that the Boy Scouts run, that's going to be all improved. It'll be a brand new upgrade to the sea base. A lot of great improvements there, including one that I'm really excited about, which is an accessible lift that I will thank JP and Christian for educating me on the need for those in our community. So I'm getting them also in Dana Point. We just want to make sure that we have accessible harbors. Then we talked about the American Legion. Sand replenishment is key. We want to make sure that when we get that sediment clogging up the Santa Ana River Trail, we don't just take it and haul it away to a landfill. We want to take that sediment and put it on the beach. We were able to dump 22,000 cubic yards of sediment from the Santa Ana River Trail down in the Doheny Beach area, and we rebuilt the beach. We literally rebuilt the beach. It had eroded all the way up to the street level. The parking lot was wiped out, volleyball courts, the parking meters all swept out to the ocean. And so we've rebuilt the beach. But okay, you say, well, what's the point of that? It's just going to go away again. Well, maybe, but maybe not, because we're also building a living shore so that we can have a more regular management program. And my goal is that we have that happening from Newport all the way to San Clemente, and we can start to have better management of our sand replenishment, because we all know that the beaches here, we love the beaches for the recreation, but it's also an economic driver for our local economy here. Tourism is key here along the coast, and we want to make sure we keep our beaches. So other 5th District projects, you can see those. Lots of libraries. We have 12 libraries in the district. I'm so excited about that. I love libraries. So we're able to make a lot of improvements to our libraries. Laguna Niguel is getting a new city center with housing, commercial, a new library, a fire station. We've got some transportation projects, and of course, the coastal rail corridor. Let's see, next slide. These are a lot of the investments in terms of dollar amounts that are going on at the county right now. And I'm hoping this will work. So I am on a mission to make sure that our county government is contracting with local businesses. Because since yes, clap for that. Since I've been there, we have a lot of contracts with businesses out of the area. So I want to make sure you all know, if you're a local business or you know someone, you can go to Business OC, and you can, if you're on Google, you can just do doing business with Orange County. Hopefully it'll work. We'll see. Did it work? There. Oh, I see it on mine, but it's not showing up on there. All right. All right. Well, okay, Nick, come and get me back to where I was. So there's a website that you could go to, and the website has wait, let's see, I think I can do it. I got it. Okay, got it. Maybe. I can see it on here, but I don't see it up there. Do you know how to show that? Okay. Yeah, there we go. So you can go to this website and you can sign up to be a registered local business, and then you'll get notification about open bids. And so if you look at this open bids area, you'll see that, there's all kinds of bids that are out. And I'll just give you an example. Aquarium services, batteries, fire extinguisher maintenance, patrol vehicle equipment, car parts, maintenance for city and county buses, uniform shirts, pens, other kinds of office supplies. There's so many things that we contract with others for in the county, and part of our local economic development needs to be that those contracts are going to our local businesses that many are family owned. So please spread the word and sign up to the bid portal, and let's do business together. Okay, now can you hit me back to my PowerPoint? I'm pretty techie, but I don't know. I don't know this system here. Okay, thank you. You're the best. Okay, so you can see we have got a lot going on. All right. We talked a little bit about this already. Oh, I missed this one. $150,000 of musical instruments for Newport Mesa. And yes, I'm super excited about that, because I know as a former PTA president, foundation president, that it's really, really hard to raise money, and it's hard to get people to get the school district to cover these kinds of costs, like cellos and violins and pianos. I bought a piano for one of the schools. They hadn't had a new piano in I don't know, 3 decades. And so we also invested in the Shabbat Center for Jewish Life, $250,000 for school field trips for the Holocaust Education Center programming. How many of you have been to the museum that they have? Yes, it's incredible. And I encourage anyone, whether you're Jewish or not, to go and visit and learn, because you really, it's just an incredible experience. And it was so meaningful to me that I said to Nick, we have to get more students here. This is a way that we build a kinder, more tolerant community. Okay, Crystal Cove Conservancy, we are investing in STEM education. And then, of course, we already talked about some of those other things. So let's talk about the Balboa Island Ferry. We all want to save the Balboa Island Ferry. How many of you want to save the ferry? Let the record reflect all hands were raised. So it's a really tricky situation. I have a law clerk that is working for me in my office this summer. She's a Chapman Law student. And I had her do all the research, talk to CARB, which is the regulatory agency that is requiring the ferry to be converted to zero emission by December of 2025, I think it is. And so we've been working on a lot of options. And what we've discovered is the main obstacle is that it's a private ferry, and all of the main federal grants that would help with a ferry conversion, giving you the significant dollars that you would need to be able to do that project, they are not allowing money to go to private operators. Now, what's weird about that is I think the number is something like 96% or 95% of all of the ferries in America are operated by private operators. and in California, every ferry is operated by a private operator. So we're working, we have formed a little work group that includes Assemblywoman Diane Dixon's office, and we've got a representative from the city. We have also Balboa Island Improvement Association and our Orange County Transportation Authority representative. We've got some attorneys from Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher who have volunteered to help with this. And we're all working together trying to lobby our U.S. Senator Alex Padilla and others to change the law, basically, to allow those grants to flow to private operators. Because despite, good intentions, we're not going to get the rules changed. The rules are not going to change. They're not going to waive the CARB rules as it relates to the ferry. So we need to find what will work. What's the solution to the problem? And so the solution is to get the grant funding, because you're never going to make enough money operating the ferry to be able to pay for this kind of conversion. And then we've got a timeline issue. The deadline is not going to be able to be met, most importantly because in order to build in the infrastructure to do the conversion, you have to get a coastal commission permit. Well, you're not getting that permit in this limited amount of time. You've got to go through the city of Newport Beach and get your local permit, and then you have to go to the Coastal Commission. I mean, that's like a 3-year project, right? And so if everything goes as planned. So we're going to work also on trying to get a waiver, or not a waiver, but an extension of the deadline. And I think if we can demonstrate, at least this is what CARB tells us, if we can demonstrate good faith efforts to try to move forward with the conversion, then maybe we can get the extension of time, and certainly if we can get the law changed, the funding will flow faster. So that's kind of the update on the ferry. And I'm going to pause here because I'm talking for a long time. Does anyone have any questions about the ferry? Okay. Dennis, can you come to the microphone?
Well, first of all, in regards to the ferry, Dennis Bress, Newport Beach, Balboa Island resident. Yeah, you saw all hands go up. So this is huge. Now, this looks like the path to success to solve this. One of the questions I had that I found out when I went to DC is there's some money available for some technology that has to do with hydrogen technology, and I'll forward you that information.
It doesn't have to be electric.
It sounds like it doesn't make a difference anyway.
Yeah, it's just zero emission.
Yeah.
And you still can't get those grants because it's a private ferry, and the federal grants are not you're not eligible as a private ferry. So we're trying to change that. We've identified a gap and we're trying to fix it. So that's where we are on that. Now I'm going to go a little deeper into the John Wayne Airport, some of the work we've done here. We've talked about the Fly Friendly program. You can go to the website. It's up here. The link is there, ocair.com/fly friendly. So this is all of the details about it are on the online. You're going to hear more about that in the community here within the next few months. We're also working on quieter commercial aviation departures. I know that there's some concern about a couple of airlines, and so we've been requesting specific meetings with executives from those commercial airlines to talk to them about the concerns. And our new airport director, Charlene Reynolds, has been working diligently. I know that there's others like Jack in the community working diligently to try to encourage the commercial airlines to have some of the new MAX fleet so that it's cleaner, quieter out of the airport. And so we're supporting those efforts and doing what we can to work with the FAA. And as we begin the settlement negotiations, which are we're priming for that right now. The settlement agreement is expiring in the next few years, and we want to make sure that we're ready and we have plans in place so that we're not doing anything last minute. So we're working with our airport director and starting to have those meetings. I know City of Newport Beach has already started having those meetings, and so the more will come out on that in the near future. Let's see. We talked about that. Oh, okay. Do you all remember when the General Aviation Improvement Program was approved? It was in, I think it was 2019, I want to say, 2020, sometime in there. That was a new layout for the general aviation part of the airport. And the concept at the time that was presented was that this would provide more general aviation with the goal of reducing the number of flights and sort of allowing for more smaller planes. I don't know that that's actually what's happening, and Sue can attest to that. And so this is something that was voted on before I got there. In fact, I was at the podium as the mayor speaking against it. So, but this is one of those things that I inherited when I became the supervisor for this district. So the FAA actually hasn't approved our GAIP plan yet. So no construction has begun on that yet because of that. So we're still in communications with the FAA regarding whether or not that gets approved, and we'll know more about what they want changed here in the near future. We are embarking on a new concessions plan. The RFP went out, request for proposal went out. We have had bids come in. I don't have access to those because that's all confidential until the biddies are announced, but our procurement office has been working on that. But I will tell you this, the board as a whole, we made it a very strong priority that as part of this bidding process, we wanted to have local businesses. We wanted to have a local taste of Orange County at the airport when people are there. So hopefully we'll see that soon. The parking and the valet RFP have been released, and those are coming in soon. And then there's a meeting coming up for the Airport Land Use Commission regarding a Newport Beach residential proposal, and that's scheduled for August 17th. And that's a different commission than the one that Sue sits on. This is more about complying with the noise restrictions and the land use requirements of the airport. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be an interesting meeting. I'll leave it at that. Okay, talking about public safety, you know, this is a big priority for our office, for the county as a whole. I joined District Attorney Spitzer and other local police chiefs to announce 140 charges in Orange County. At least 20 were linked to a Chilean transactional crime ring. And basically what has been happening, and all of our delegation, a bipartisan effort, have worked to try to stop, it's like a loophole in the travel visas. So normally a country on a travel visa has to attest that the person coming is safe to travel to another country. They sort of, you know, vouch for the person as not being a criminal, for example. and so there's this loophole that the Chilean country has been taking advantage of. And so we are at a point where Republicans and Democrats alike in Congress are calling for no flights to come in from Chile until we can fix this problem, because they're coming in and then burglarizing homes and then quickly getting out of Dodge, and you don't know, you can't find them. They're just gone. And so there's no accountability there. So this is an issue that we're dealing with here in Orange County. And in the 5th District, it's actually more so prevalent than most anywhere else in Orange County. We've seen it happen. Even my own in-laws who live in Irvine, and I used to say it's the safest street and the safest city in America, above University Hills, above the UCI campus. And their whole cul-de-sac, which backs to open space. So a lot of these targets are people who back to open space. Their whole cul-de-sac was ransacked. It was on election night, actually, and we were watching the returns, and their home is getting ransacked and invaded. So it's a real issue, and we're working to try to address it. But I'll tell you, residents, you know, getting the ring bell, making sure that you have safety and security at your home, especially if you back to open space, making sure that you have security cameras, floodlights that turn on automatically, really important. We have addressed hate crimes at the county. We're really, the board as a whole is committed to fully funding our sheriff's department and our law enforcement, and providing tools and equipment that are modern, that help us to fight crime. But at the same time, we're really investing a lot in rehabilitation. We're investing a lot at Juvenile Hall in job training. I sit on the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council. We're investing in helping young people to get trained so that when they come out, they can be good citizens and they can have jobs that will help them to have a better life. We're investing in mental health services. We're investing at the Sheriff's Department. We just voted to give 9 new behavioral health officers so that they can partner with our county teams, much like you have here in Newport Beach with your police department and your social workers that work to help individuals in the community. So we're making those investments, and I think it's a really good time in Orange County where there's a lot of balance, you know, balancing the proactive policing, balancing the need for having a strong commitment to reducing crime, but also investing in people so that we have preventative measures in place. Okay, sober living homes. I know some of you here have really worked on sober living home reform, and it's an important issue in Costa Mesa. Newport, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, and Laguna Niguel, and Dana Point. Those are kind of the areas where, and Orange, which isn't in my district, but those are the areas in Orange County where we see a lot of impact from sober living homes. And I'll just say this, that Costa Mesa, when I was mayor, we kind of took the lead on this issue. We invested a lot of money in making sure that we had a good regulatory scheme that protected patients and the public, and that we were able to require permitting. And that also prevented overconcentration in neighborhoods, so that one cul-de-sac didn't turn into a whole sober living home, industry cottage kind of a block. So we are still dealing with the state as our main obstacle to this issue. The state has recently started using the housing element as a tool to prevent communities from having sober living home ordinances and regulating this, but we're still going to keep pushing forward. There is a recent Attorney General announcement that somehow sober living home regulations are preventing affordable housing. And I would say it's the opposite, okay? So if you have corporations buying up houses in your neighborhood, they're buying them at a much higher rate than maybe a normal homeowner might. It's pushing up the prices in the neighborhood. And most importantly, they're renting out the beds, not the rooms, the beds in the home for upwards of $3,000–$5,000 a bed. And so I don't know about you, but I'm guessing that that house suddenly became an impediment to some regular family moving in, because the value that they're gaining for that house as a business is much greater. So I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's actually impacting affordable housing in a way that is preventing people from having access to housing, because we don't even know if the people living in these homes are from Orange County or even California for that matter. So we'll keep working on this issue. Costa Mesa is taking this all the way to the Supreme Court, and the issue is before the Supreme Court right now. Yes, clap for Costa Mesa. I'm proud of them. And we know that Newport signed on an amicus brief, so we are appreciative. I'm appreciative, as county supervisor represents both cities, I'm appreciative of that effort. Okay, veterans, housing and homelessness. Veterans issues are just near and dear to my heart. My brother is a retired veteran he served in the Army, he was in the Iraq War, and he came out maybe a little different than he went in. He was like a surfer kid when he went in, and now he's a guy who really can't be around crowds, and he has a very, very difficult time. And so I want to make sure that our veterans are cared for. I've supported lots of work at the American Legion, and we have identified 290 veterans in Orange County that are living on our streets and that are homeless. And for me, 290 is 290 too many. So I'm on a mission to get all of our veterans housed, however we can, whether that's through motel conversions and creating veterans housing there, whether that's through connecting veterans to the VA. We just opened up a new veterans one-stop in Laguna Niguel, and we have job opportunities. If you're a business and you want to hire a veteran, we will pay the wages for that veteran for 3 months. So contact me and we'll connect you. We're also working on some home buyer programs. We're working on our housing trust. We just adopted a ADU program, accessory dwelling unit program, where you can get a $100,000 loan at 3% interest to build an accessory dwelling unit in your backyard, or maybe it's attached to your home. So we're working to create opportunities for housing for all different types. Wildfires, we kind of talked about that, but we are really in a wildfire time. It used to be there was wildfire season during the Santa Anas. Now it's wildfire season all year long. And so how many of you had your insurance rates go up recently because of fire? Yes. So you should know that I'll be in Sacramento next week working on this issue. On Thursday, the insurance commissioner will be in Orange County in Laguna Niguel, and we will be in a meeting with him, advocating for him to do something about the increased rates, because it's just untenable. You can't have your insurance go from $200 to $1,200 overnight. We are seeing Allstate and State Farm pulling out of the market here in California. We're not, some housing in Rancho Mission Viejo. We have a lot of beautiful housing that's entitled already, and they can't build because they cannot get it insured. So this is a crisis really in our area because we have a lot of activity going on. Nick is giving me the hook. Okay, just in time, Nick. This is how you can contact us. You know, get your camera out, do your screenshot. There's also brochures that we have up here at the front that has all this information on it. How many of you are signed up for our newsletter? Okay, not enough. Everybody sign up. We do a newsletter every Friday. We try to fill it with really relevant, important information that will be helpful to residents in the community. If you have something from your organization that you want us to help promote, send it over. We'll send it out. And we're just here to serve. So I'm happy to take any questions. I'll leave this up so that... And we're hiring right now. If you have any young people and you know that are college interns and want to get a job, we have a really fun opportunity to work on so many important issues here in Orange County. Yes?
Yes. First of all, thank you for your support of public safety and sober living reform.
Yes.
Home reform. Really appreciate it. Governor Newsom is sponsoring a ballot initiative to put thousands of new community centers and residential settings for people with mental illness and addiction issues. And I think he's wants to back it up with $1 billion of funding on top of that, plus $600 million for people that commit felonies who also have mental illness issues, and to put them into residential settings. Orange County, I think we're 8% of the total California population. We have 40% roughly estimated of the sober living homes, and about 25% of the social rehabilitation facilities that have housed people with mental illness in residential settings. So these are, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Any idea what that's going to mean to Orange County if, in fact, that passes?
Nick, is this the MHSA? Okay. So there's so many bills, I try to keep track of them all. So we have our behavioral health director, Dr. Veronica Kelly. She's on a state committee trying to basically protect the Orange County way in terms of how we're handling our Mental Health Service Act funding. And just by way of a little background before I kind of directly answer the question, for those who might not know, we get about $300 million a year in Mental Health Service Act funding. And right now, that funding is used for preventive programs. That funding is used for permanent supportive housing supports. That funding is sometimes used for construction of housing. It's used for conversions of motels to kitchenettes for housing. It's also used for what we call innovation. So the act, when it was first approved, included this innovation language. There's not much anymore that's truly innovative, because in this space, a lot of people are duplicating efforts from places in other areas in the country. But the innovation restriction limits it to, and it says innovation anywhere in America. So that piece of it is being proposed to be changed so we can free up and have some of those dollars be more flexible. The other part of it, there was just some changes made on Monday. Is that right? Potential changes made on Monday to what the governor is proposing. And those changes would allow for what is existing to kind of be protected. So in Orange County, the $300 million that we get in, what the governor's original proposal would have done would be to take $100 million out and have it only be for permanent supportive housing services. It would not be allowed to be used for any prevention or any other kind of programming for mental health and wellness. So we were kind of pushing back against that because we have a whole system of care we've developed in the last 5 years, and you know, it's evolving, but it's starting to work, and we don't want to have it gutted. So as far as whether this issue specifically would address sober living homes, we know at the county we have our own sober living home ordinance. We would not allow this to be taken advantage of in the same way that insurance, the sober living homes were taking advantage of the insurance system. If that's what you're worried about, you have at least my word that I will be on this, and I will not allow it to be hijacked by those who just want to profiteer off of people's pain. So and really like impact communities. So I see this more as a way for us to help to provide housing, not necessarily for sober living homes, but housing for people of all different types of needs, including veterans. And so I'm hoping that we don't have an impact to what is already existing in our current programming and plan, because right now, like, our programs cover anything from equine therapy for veterans who have PTSD to arts and wellness, to really direct supports for individuals who are having a mental health crisis. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. It's still evolving, the discussion. We don't have finality on what the legislature will approve. There's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about the governor's proposal. And I think in concept, a lot of people are supportive, but like for places like Orange County, where we're actually using those dollars already and we've invested them into programming, we don't want to have it gutted.
No, thanks. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? Oh, Dennis is back.
Last one. So I always like to come to your events, Katrina, because you have a lot going on. So thank you for everything you do, specifically in regards to Newport and John Wayne Airport. I just want to make publicly the same requests that I've made in other channels.
Let me clarify that. My first text of the day this morning was from Dennis.
Yes. So, and it covers basically when the last time we heard from the Access and Noise Office, we know that with the settlement agreement, we're capped currently at 11 million passengers per year on a single 5,700-foot runway that Newport bears the brunt of 97% of the departures. With the settlement agreement, it's going to 12 million. And the Access and Noise Office had advised that they have seat allocation requests for up to 16 million. So thank God for the settlement agreement.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this.
But it's not 16 million, but they're only allocating 11.6.
Correct. Yeah. But there is demand, meaning that for a growing county,
yeah,
we're bearing the brunt as the only county airport. Right. We bear the brunt. So that said, we need some relief, and you're forward thinking in order to figure out that how do we get that relief? And I'm advocating, could we get a county funded feasibility study to find a connection from Anaheim Arctic, which is the intermodal transportation hub right across from Angel Stadium, out to Ontario Airport that has two 10,000-foot runways. They do $7 million a year, and they want to grow to $35 million. If we had a feasibility study, and might we get it funded, we would then have the ability for North County, Brea, Anaheim, Fullerton, Brea, all to not come to John Wayne, which falls in line with your feasibility for carbon.
So here's what I'm going to suggest.
You know where I'm going with it.
This is actually not a County of Orange project. Yeah. This would be Orange County Transportation Authority.
Of which you sit on the board. I do. Correct.
But I don't represent that district. So I would say we are actually embarking on a whole corridor plan for rail. Yep. And we're talking with MetroLink and Amtrak about how to provide greater service here in Orange County to connect Orange County to
light rail
San
in
Diego, LA, wherever. Yep. So this is something that if you come to the OCTA meeting and raise this issue, then we can follow up.
I will be raising this issue everywhere I can talk about it.
Thank you.
We need some relief in Newport Beach, so thank you, Supervisor Foley.
I agree. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
There seems to be a big difference in the country about shelter first and then home later, or as California's governor wants to do, home first for everybody. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, so I actually believe in a housing first model. It's nothing to do with the governor. This is just from my 10 years of experience working on finding solutions to homelessness. And the reason I believe in that is because in order to help people, they have to be in some kind of housed, stable environment. You can't help people otherwise. You won't be able to help people with their mental health to find out if they need to be on medication or maybe they need counseling, whatever it is. If they are on the street and you can't find them, you can't have regular supports for them. We really have to be able to have people housed in order to help them. So there's a whole continuum of housing that is needed, and it is from anything from, recuperative care. Some people that are on our streets are, they just have some serious medical issues, and they aren't able to heal. I've had examples shared with me of, people who've lost their foot or other body parts because they can't heal on the streets. The infection continues to grow, etc. So that's an issue that I think is important that we address. And then we also have, there's people who, look, let's face it, there's a variety of different kinds of people experiencing homelessness in Orange County. And I think we've done an exceptional job in the last 5 years of really helping those people who want help, have the capacity to accept help, and are willing to get help. What we now are dealing with are, I think, two types of individuals experiencing homelessness. One, we have a drug addict issue. We have people who are addicted to fentanyl. We have people who are really not able to get off the drugs, and they're living on the streets. And they're maybe a little more intense than like what you might think of as the person who has mental illness, isn't going to hurt anyone, but maybe isn't healthy for themselves. Then we have what I consider to be the invisible homeless. These are people who, like my husband's students, they're living on people's couches, they're sharing sheds in the backyards of people's homes, they're living in Laguna Woods, senior citizen women. That's our largest number of increase in homelessness is amongst senior women over 60. They're living in cars near cemeteries because they think it's safe. They're living in Laguna Woods because it's a safe community, and they're sleeping in their car. And so for me, that's just not acceptable. I will continue to work to try to help house, especially senior women. We cannot let them live on the street. So housing people is critical. It's all just how you do it, It's important, though. Yes, sir.
You can't get a bunch of the senior homeless women into the Fairview Development Center, which is being closed, and you could have a very quick solution to a lot
I know
of
you and I
for
talked
people.
about that on our wellness
Senior
walk.
women could maybe be a politically feasible, although that kind of selects certain people.
Yeah, I know. You and I talked about that on our wellness walk. We have Wellness Wednesday walks out in the community. We try to get out to showcase all of our amazing wilderness parks with guided tours. And we recently were in Laguna Beach. Thank you for joining us. But Fairview Development Center, let me just give you the update on that. This is not within my jurisdiction, by the way, but I happen to know what's happening because I live in Costa Mesa. So the site is under the control of the General Department Services for the state of California, and they are proposing they have to tear down the buildings because they've already done a whole assessment of the property and the buildings. They're decades old. They're filled with asbestos. You can't just go in and do a tenant improvement. It would cost more to do that than to tear the building down and build something new. And we don't want to be in that debacle. So they're going to tear the buildings down. They're also working with the city of Costa Mesa on a housing development plan for the community. It will have a continuum of different types of housing product, disabled housing, permanent supportive housing, market rate housing, all kinds of different housing, a park, some ancillary retail, commercial, maybe a cafe, and the Cal OES, the California Operation of Emergency Services, is planning to have their building there as well. So that's what will be going on there. And again, not in my jurisdiction. I don't vote on it. I just happen to know. Okay, anybody else have any other questions? They're under discussion for that right now, and I think the plan is, to get moving on it next year. All right, thank you, Ed. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Wow, that was a lot of information. Good information, too. Well, that was terrific. Thank you so much, Katrina, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know you're really busy and appreciate all you do for Newport Beach.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm here to serve, so let me know how I can help.
All right, folks, so that's it for this evening. Come back September 13th, and we're going to have another great program for you. So good evening.